Hi everybody! So today we're going to be doing an abstract bunny. It's Easter weekend here, so you could be watching this video anytime, but I think it's kind of a nice way to work with watercolor and to kind of see how we can layer it. So today we're going to need our some watercolor paper, watercolors, and also markers. So let's get started. So this is what our bunny is going to look like at the end. So I'm going to keep that right to the side here so you can kind of keep watching what I'm doing and you can kind of see what the finished product is going to look like. So the first thing we're going to do is draw an egg shape, kind of upside down. So the thinner part of the egg is going to be over here. It's kind of like an Easter egg that's rolling away. There we go. So an oval shape. And your oval shape can be at the bottom, at the top. You're the artist, so you get to decide. And I'm going to start mine probably about right here. So I'm going to go in and add the big long bunny ears. I'm going to put this one at the very top. So just draw in the big long bunny ears. And I'm going to kind of connect them a little bit at the bottom here, just with a little U shape. And I'm going to go in. I'm thinking this part's a little bit, this part could come out a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of make a neck for the bunny and the shoulder over here. Kind of looks like a llama. I promise at the end it won't look like a llama, but right now I think it looks like a llama. Okay, so I'm going to bring the ear in here. So right now we're just getting the bunny drawn. So like I said, start with the egg shape and then the two bunny ears, the neck or the shoulders, and right here. I'm going to bring this out a little bit. And like I said, drawing is kind of like the planning, but it does not have to look exactly like that. So with the egg shape, we're going to kind of want to give it more of an appearance of being a bunny face. So I'm going to bring down a line like here, and you can always leave it the egg shape if you want. So I'm going to make this a little bit more flat, like a line going into the nose. And then I'm going to plan for my nose to be about here. But that does not mean anything, and I'm going to put it in as a triangle. See, I told you it wasn't going to look like a llama forever. And then I'm going to go in and give it a little bit of a bunny mouth, like a little smile. And then in the ears, I'm going to go in, and you know how the inside of the ears of a bunny is kind of a pink hue. So we're going to do that. And think about today, because if you don't want that color, you could do green bunny ears. I'm going to stick with pink, I think. Just like my preview one here we did. Still kind of wet a little bit. I figured this was a perfect spring project. If you listen, you can hear the birds, I think, outside here. My studio is at the back of my house, and I have a big picture window. And I can see all the little birds dancing away. I love it. I'm hoping it's spring there for you. But like I said, sometimes people watch videos at different times. But I'm sure enjoying the spring weather today. We had a big blizzard. So everything's kind of covered up with snow. But at least the sun's out and the birds. So there is my bunny llama. Hopefully yours just looks like a bunny. So we're going to play around with color today. So today I'm going to be using some black and brown. And I'm going to do different mixtures of it. And I also have my red, but I've mixed a little bit of brown with it to kind of make it a bit of a cooler kind of red. So it's not so bright. Wanted to take the temperature down. So I'm going to actually move this over here so you can see what I'm doing, because I think otherwise my camera is going to kind of get cut off. So I'm taking my brush and I'm gonna fill the bunny ears in with water. And the reasoning why is because we're gonna start building the painting of the rabbit with small layers. The beautiful thing about watercolors is as you build it, you can start seeing your painting kind of come to life. So I have some red here. So take some of your red paint, and I've got it mixed in, and I'm gonna take some black and some brown, and it kind of gave me this muddier red, but that's what I want because I don't want it to be crazy bright. If you do, that's okay, just use your red. And I'm gonna go in, and the wonderful thing about watercolor is you can't control it all the time. You can if it's going on dry paper, but sometimes I just like putting it in the water and seeing it kind of create its own shapes. It's a soft shape. So I'm just gonna go in and kind of fill it. And if you see here, I'm just gonna let this kind of stay the way it is until it dries. I'm not gonna go in and fill the whole thing up. I'm just gonna fill it as much as I kind of want. So this one's got, it's either dry or, so I'm gonna add some water. And you can do that after the paint's there, don't worry. It's all about layering, so don't get worried about things that don't look right. Just keep working through because it'll come through the other side and then you'll start seeing things you like about it. So see how I'm just placing my paintbrush in the puddle. And that's so much fun because it's allowing the paint and the water to kind of decide. And as you can see, my paint is kind of going around the ear a bit, and that is okay because we're gonna work with it like that. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look in the eye, and do you know how there's a highlight in every eye? Like we've got a circle, and I'm gonna make another little circle. So this is the circle I'm gonna try not to touch with water and paint, but if you do, that's okay. You can add a little bit of an acrylic white dot or something with a marker after to leave that highlight. But it kind of allows me to not hit the highlight with the paint. And I do that when I want the paint to stay white. There is something else that you can put down, kind of scrape off, but I always just kind of plan out where I'm gonna have that. And I just don't paint on it. Or I try not to. Sometimes it doesn't work and then I have to put some acrylic paint. But see how I just dropped that black paint right into the eye, and see how it's not going in the middle because I didn't put water there. So it's all about just little bits of things we do and experimenting. And I don't want to add too much, otherwise I'm going to have a problem because it's going to go into that center because the puddle is going to kind of get out of control. But I like that. So it looks really dark right now, but it's not going to be. It's going to lighten as it dries. So that's the beautiful thing about this. So what I'm going to do too is I'm going to go in with the black, and I'm just going to paint it actually. I want to have a bit more control in the nose, so I'm just going to fill in that triangle. You can also make a puddle and then see what shapes you get. That's the fun part, but I'm going to control that a little bit more. And then I'm going to go in and kind of create that mouth. Awesome. So excited. So the one thing I realized I didn't get, which you're going to want to get, is some paper towel, because paper towel and watercolor is so much fun because we can soak up the colors we don't want and make them a little bit lighter. So I've done that a lot through the face, but if you can actually, if you look really close, you can see some of the texture of my paper towel in the bunny's face, and I kind of like that. So we're gonna go in, we're not gonna touch the ears because I know they're still wet, and I don't want to get the brown in the puddles. If you do, that's okay, but I'm gonna mix my brown and my black. I'm gonna kind of put it on its own little area here. Because remember, if you load your brush up full of that watercolor, it's gonna be crazy dark. So I'm gonna just touch my paper towel, let it kind of suck that water and some of that extra paint, and I'm gonna load my brush up with water. And we're gonna go into the face, and you might see I still have some color on, and even if you have red, that's okay. It looks amazing to layer that up. If you got some red from the ears or anything in that puddle, that's okay. So I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna create a shape. Then I'm gonna go in and pick up I want this a bit more brown. Pick up my brown and my black, and I'm just going to work my way through. See how I'm just placing, it's kind of in the puddle. So it's actually like if you probably dumped food coloring into a bathtub or a puddle. Please don't do it, but it's kind of the same thing. Like we're just working it through the puddle with the tip of our brush. So I'm also going to show you when you want to lighten just one area and you just play around. I am not doing anything totally on purpose here. I'm just experimenting and seeing what I get because I know I can keep working. This thing about paintings, don't give up. See how we took some of that paint off. So I'm going to take some of this off too. Just little dots. And then I'm going to build back up. So then I'm going to come in to the back here and create another puddle. And this time I'm going to add a little bit more black than brown, just to have a little bit of a different color. I'm going to work it through the puddle. We're just going to kind of start layering away. And we're going to work in through the shapes we have for our bunny. Oh, see, this is what happens. If you touch something that's still wet, you can kind of upset it, right? But I kind of don't mind that. I want to see what it looks like. So I'm going to upset away because I can put that black mark in again if I want. So this is showing you don't panic with your watercolors because sometimes you're like, this just doesn't look right. Well, maybe it's not supposed to look right yet, but it's going to. So I'm just going to keep going in, and you can wipe off the excessive paint and get some more water, or you can just keep wiping the paint off. Like you can collect the paint and wipe it off if it's too dark. It's experimenting with our paint today and seeing what we can do with it. Okay, so we're gonna go in, and I'm gonna create around the eye now. Let's do a puddle there. Look, I touched a puddle. So what happens is then the paint that's in that puddle is gonna come into the next one. But that is what I want. I'm gonna work with my paint and see what I get. And this is more brown than it is with any black. So I'm gonna kind of go in around the eyes, but there is no rules. You can work on this wherever you want, from the ears down. It's just create a puddle and put in some paint. And let's see what happens. And see where it's all dry from the paper towel? I can go in again. And I can lift it off again if I want. And it's just working through the bunny just in different kind of areas. So I'm gonna do under the bunny mouth, and see how I picked up some of the mouth, so it's kind of, because the same colors are gonna be in through the bunny face. So look at that, that's really dark. So if I want it dark, that's great. If not, use your paper towel or use your brush and move it into the other puddles, or into some dry. I'm moving it into a dry part now. And you'll notice where I'm putting it on, where it's dry, it's going to look different than the puddles. I kind of don't like how long that bunny mouth is, so I'm going to go in and kind of like know where it is to go in and put it again, but I'm going to lighten it a little bit, which you can do. Okay, so I'd like kind of a darker bridge of the nose. I kind of think that would look good, so I made a puddle. I'm just adding my paint. That's kind of fun. The nice thing is like if I ever paint flowers, which I'm going to show you behind here with my watercolors, I just let the watercolors figure out what it's doing. So I want to show you what I just did. I touched the ear. See how it was still a puddle? But I'm going to work it through. So it's going to have a bit of a pink hue in the nose, but that's okay. I'm going to go with it. I didn't do it on purpose, but that's the cool thing. We're going to just go with it. I'm going to kind of work my brush through. So I want to show you guys too. Remember when I was showing you the experimenting, as wet on dry controls your paint more. So I'm going to create some of these lines in the ears because I want it to be more kind of listen to me, more controlled brush stroke. So what I did is I just took my brush, I got it wet with some paint, and I'm just gonna go through where I want those lines to be on dry paper, because then it doesn't have a puddle to kind of like move through. So it's learning, and watercolor is all about learning. I find I'll have 2 watercolors that I really like to 3 watercolors I hate at the end. And that's because it's experimenting, right? It's not being perfect. And as you get better at watercolor, you'll find the more you do, the more you like. But you'll always want to experiment. Push yourself out of the comfort zone a little bit to see. Okay, look at that. It's coming together. Okay. And I promise you can keep working at it, so you can let this all dry and go back in and start layering some more. That's what builds up your picture. But I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add tons of water. Actually, I'm gonna use a bigger brush. I'm gonna make a puddle where the body is. And we're gonna go in and I'm gonna use some brown and some black. And I'm gonna work my way through just lightly at first. I'm just gonna kind of fill in the puddle. And then I'm gonna go in and mix it up. It's kind of like a magic trick, because I don't know how that color is gonna totally blend, but it does. And you can see some of the browns in here, some of the blacks, like they're kind of doing what they need to do. And it's funny because I have not done this. This is the paint, so it can give us some great effects. Okay, so I'm just thinking here, I'm gonna bring the face out a little bit in my painting, just because I'm wanting it to have more of a bunny face and not so much of that egg shape. The egg shape helps us get there, but then we can change the shape as we go. Like I said, the drawing is just, it's just a map that we don't have to totally stick to, right? It's an adventure. So we might go with the map completely, or we might go off the map a little bit and kind of see what we can do ourselves. So I'm gonna go in and darken this up. I really like that. But I think I need some more dark, like almost that brownish gray in the ears now. So I'm gonna kind of go in. And if it goes into the pink area, that's okay. You're gonna find that there's a lot of things that this paint does. So please experiment away with this paint and send me pictures of what you've done, because it's so much fun to see what everyone else has been creating. Okay. This week has been a little bit crazy around my house, so I haven't been able to get much painting done. We've had lots of sick people in this house the last couple of weeks, so it's been lots of cleanup this week. But I'm hoping this weekend, now it's the Easter weekend, I'll have some time to paint and spend at my easel. But the funny thing is sometimes our lives just kind of take us where we don't have as much time to do the things we love, but it just makes it so we get to really enjoy them when we do. Okay, here we go. So I'm just filling it in, either puddles or it's going on the dry paper, and we're working on our own. I'm just guiding you kind of through it. So I want to show you something too. I'm going to take some brown and black, and I'm going to put it right in the ear. And I want to show you it's no big deal. So I can go in with my paper towel, and you still see a little bit of a shadow. And sometimes I want to create that right now. I want to kind of go in like I'm shading the inside of the ear where it curls. But if I don't want it there, I just go in with my paper towel, or I go in with a dry paintbrush and I suck up all that paint and just wipe it on my paper towel. So I'm gonna come back and work more on the bunny face, but I want to show you something. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna create, oh, there's some black in there, which I didn't mean to do, but I am going to let it be there. We're gonna see what happens. Either it's gonna be a good thing I did it or a bad thing. And that's the thing about art, is figuring it out as you go. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put, oh, that looks so good with the black. See, sometimes accidents happen for a reason. Wouldn't have even thought of that, but it adds some shadows into these hedges I'm gonna do behind the bunny. So I just want abstract kind of stuff going on. I'm adding my green to the brown concoction I did for the bunny because I wanted it not so, that one's so bright. So I'm just gonna go in, and you see the green is even going into the bunny, and that's okay. I think it's gonna look good. I did it on my example piece. So we're just gonna go in and work in that green. So some of it was, see where I put it on dry paper, see where I put it on a puddle. So we're gonna create a puddle up here. Create some of that green, just kind of work the way through. And this is a good time. Remember I showed you could put saran wrap on your paint or some salt, and it leaves different effects. Please feel free, if you want to put that on your bunny and wait for it to dry before our next layer, please do so. I'm just going to keep going because I just want to show you today how to kind of manipulate the color and from the puddles onto the dry paper. But please do that. If you even want to do another one with salt, you can even do these pictures for, like, if it is Easter, for an Easter present for your parents or grandparents or aunt and uncles, or even a friend or a teacher. So I go in and just creating my layers, right? And we can see how they're just kind of like they're figuring out what to do on their own. So I'm going to let that dry. But I also want to show you, if I have too much paint in one area, right, I go in with my paper towel just to kind of change up the dynamic of this a little bit. So it's not all the same. And see how the puddle's gotten a little out of control here? But that's okay. I'm going to go in and dry everything up. See? Don't panic. Panic is not something we have to do. So I'm going to go in and create another puddle, and I'm going to go in with more of an orange, or not an orange, a yellow green. So I'm going to mix my green and my yellow. Kind of just change it up a bit so there's like different hues of the branches of the tree or the hedge. I want it to be a hedge because I'm going to add a little bit of flowers like I did in my other one, because I need flowers. Spring and summer are a good time for me. I find winter hard because I love color, and when I don't have color in my life, I can be a little sad. Here, some more yellow and the green. Look, that's really yellow, but I kind of like it. Because remember, it's going to dry differently than it looks wet. Okay, and I'm going to add some of it up here. Kind of just making a paint mess, and I'm loving every bit of it. Okay, so we're going to go back and work on the bunny now. And I do notice it's getting a little out of control. The puddles are kind of like too much in this area. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to pick it up with my paper towel. It's literally like playing in the puddles, and who knew you could do it with paint? Most people, it's rain boots, right? And because I use that puddle with the green, I need to create a new one. So brown and black. And then I'm going to go in just with a little bit. Like, if you can see, I just added the kind of little bits of detail in, and I let the paper be a bit more dry, so I'm not letting it pool. So I'm just going to go in and kind of create where I might want to see some more detail. And then at the very end, we're going to go in, which I'm so excited, with some markers. I always love using markers or ink with my watercolors, because I find sometimes, for me personally, watercolors can be very, like, they're almost too soft. I like that softness in my pieces, but I like being able to control my paint a little bit and control where your eye goes. So it's good to step out of my comfort zone to teach watercolor, because I really do enjoy it. And it reminds me that I need to experiment more with my colors and my different paint and the way I use my paint. And kind of stepping out of our comfort zones can do that for us, because usually I'm an oil painter and collage. Oh, I love collage too. Okay, so I'm going to go in with just some darker pieces so we can see the shadow under the head. Like I said, it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. And if you don't like it, you can go in and try another one too. because you're learning how to use this kind of paint. I'm super proud of you because they say, people always say, oh, watercolor's so easy. Do you know watercolor is one of the most difficult paints to work with? Because you have to plan a lot and you have to like work with the paint. So you have to, yeah, it's kind of an interesting medium to use. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more black and I'm gonna go in here. Oh no, see, I didn't mean for that to happen. And I should have been thinking because of the puddle. I'm gonna go in and dry it off. Ooh, I kind of like how that worked out though. Perfect. See? So I'm going to be back in a few minutes. I want this to dry, and then I want to show you how I can go in with a little bit of watercolor paint and some markers, and we're going to finish up our abstract bunny. So I'll be back in just a moment. So I'm back. I went to make a cup of coffee, and now that I've come back, they're drier. It's still not completely dry, but it's where I need it to be to work on it some more. So I'm going to just go in. And I'm just going to add, I just want to deepen up some of my colors in the ears. So I'm just going to add some more. And I'm adding it to dryish paper so it doesn't run everywhere. Kind of had fun with the puddle part. And now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit on the nose. It's got maybe a bit of a pink nose. And then I'm going to add a little bit. Maybe I don't like that as much. See, you pick it up. I'm going to go in with more of black color. Perfect. So that is good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to stay away from the puddles of paint now that are drying. But I want to add some like leaf areas in here. So I'm going to go in with my green marker and I'm just going to randomly kind of create some shapes, like maybe even I always kind of see where the outline of my puddles are, and I might go in there with some different colors just to kind of bring those out a little bit. Find it can kind of help your eye kind of anchor down on like what the paint is doing. It's just not in the middle of nowhere, but sometimes the middle of nowhere is okay too. I'm gonna work my way around. See, like here, I just kind of hit some of the edges of those puddles. And this is just something I do. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to by any chance. If you love your painting the way it is, leave it. It's not, there's no drawn out finish line with art. The artist makes the finish line. You are in control of what you make. Okay, so I did that. I'm gonna go in with some pink markers just to create like almost like there's like little baby flowers, and then I'm going to go in with some pink paint and do that too. Because I'm mixing my mediums, it's called mixed media. So pretty much watercolors with marker, and I do a lot of watercolors with ink. I'll use pens in my watercolor and pencils and lots of different stuff. I always love breaking rules when it comes to art to see what works and what doesn't. And I'll always tell you what doesn't work because there is the few things that don't. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to create some pink little splotches on my green. I didn't want it getting the green muddy, so I waited for the green to be dry just because I wanted it to be bright. If I didn't care about them being bright, I would have gone in and probably just dropped some paint, but I wanted them to kind of be an intense spring color because, let's face it, I'm enjoying spring. Perfect. And you can even add some markers to the bunny if you wanted. If you see, I kind of like wanted my eye to go into like and look at the ears. So I just touched up the edges just a tiny bit and added some, it's called hatching. So lines to show shading, and I added a little bit of marker to the face, which I can show you. So I added it kind of to where I put my paint, and my markers are water soluble. So if they hit the water, they might run a bit, but I kind of, you know me, I love anything that I don't plan to do that just happens because I feel like sometimes it's magical. I believe like the things we do subconsciously sometimes can come out, right? We're not just, because so many of us want to plan and make things exactly the way we want. And you know what? Sometimes I love art because it lets us loosen up and kind of go with the flow. So I'm just going to add a little bit of hatching, which we're going to take in drawing when we take that this summer. We're going to draw landscapes. So exciting. Okay, go in like this, and maybe right here. You can add some fur too. Look, or even some whiskers. I'm not going to do whiskers because I always seem to mess up my paintings when I do whiskers. I don't know why. Some people can make them look amazing, and I just guess I'm not one of them. And then I'm going to go through and just kind of rough up the edges a little bit. Oh, and we didn't put any over here, so I feel like... But see, I'm going in. You could make a rough edge. Don't feel like things have to be perfect. They do not. Ooh, I kind of like, see? Random stuff like that looks cool. Perfect. I'm liking it. And my bunny is done. So I'm just gonna sign my name to the bottom, and you could even make this an Easter card if you wanted it. They're perfect for Easter cards. So I will see you guys next week, and I really hope that you enjoyed making an abstract bunny. Bye for now.